you again for joining. For those of you who have not joined any of our office hours sessions previously, the purpose of these sessions is to ensure that if you are a user of Prokeep, who maybe is wanting to brush up or have a refresher on what you maybe learned in the past, or perhaps you're new to your company and have just been introduced to Prokeep for the first time, we want to ensure that you have an opportunity to really be acquainted and familiarized with the most essential aspects and features of Prokeep, as well as how it is that distributors are taking advantage of Prokeep. So with respect to today's session, we'll have a few quick housekeeping items here just to make sure you're all familiar with how these will be operating. So all attendees upon joining our session will be muted. However, you are welcome and encouraged to submit any questions that you may have as they come up throughout our session using the Q&A feature in Zoom, which can be located at the bottom of your screen. Additionally, all attendees can vote on any submitted questions. So if you see one that's particularly interesting to you, do feel free to vote on it so that way we can prioritize the answering of that question. And we'll take time at the end of our session today to address and answer any questions that are posed throughout. And then lastly, our webinar is recorded. And so for those of you who maybe want to refer back to it, or if you have colleagues who you may want to share it with, we'll include the recording as well as the content that we share within our slides within the next few business days following today's webinar. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. So the first thing we're going to discuss for the next few minutes here is how is it that distributors use Prokeep, and we'll talk a little bit about what Prokeep is as well, in case some of you are newer to using Prokeep within your business. So Prokeep is in essence a two-way communication tool. The way we support distributors, who is our sole focus with respect to the software that we provide, is to create easy, seamless two-way communication that you can all use through a variety of channels, most commonly text messaging, with your customers. And the way we do that is typically we take your telephone number associated to a particular branch and we enable it to send and receive text messages as well as picture messages. We also offer a variety of other channels like email as well as web chat, and also the ability to market to customers en masse through a feature called broadcast text messaging. For the purpose of today, though, we'll focus primarily on the use of the text messaging and picture messaging features in Prokeep, so that way you can better understand how best to use Prokeep to interact with and manage your communication, and ultimately make the selling easier with those customers via Prokeep. A little bit about Prokeep as well. Historically, we've supported over 6,000 branches and have about 6,000 plus branches in the distribution space throughout the United States and Canada, who are taking advantage of our ability to centralize communication and help grow their sales and better improve their customer experience day in and day out. We've had over 6 billion orders placed through Prokeep, 11 million interactions, and then 1+ million contractors that we've engaged with via Prokeep. And we have over 40,000 unique daily users at various branches and distributors throughout the US and Canada taking advantage of Prokeep to support their customer interactions. So a quick few examples of how distributors throughout the distribution space take advantage of Prokeep. One of the most common examples of how Prokeep is used is the ability for a customer to text again your branch and to inquire about a particular order that they're looking to place. So in this example, we have Bill here. He has a bad water pump that he's looking to replace for a customer of his, and he's also looking to get an oil filter. So in this case, he's inquiring about the availability of this particular part and giving us the exact photo of that part, so there's no confusion or ambiguity as to what it is our customer Bill is looking to purchase. So that ultimately improves our ability to be more efficient and gives a better customer experience for Bill by ensuring we get him exactly what it is that he's looking for without having to have Bill sit on a hold if you were to call the branch, or perhaps having to try to verbally describe to us what exactly this water pump is and what it is he's looking to get, and ultimately giving time back to our counter staff as far as saving them time through that interaction, and again, reducing the likelihood that we don't quite get Bill exactly what it is he's looking for. Additionally, we also have the ability through the use of picture messages for your customers to provide you with a written list, or a list that they have maybe taken from your website of the specific things they're looking to purchase and order. This also gives your team the opportunity, once that customer has texted in with that specific order, instead of having to have them write that down over a phone call, maybe it's 5 items, 10 items, or whatever the case may be, and potentially making mistakes. We know exactly what it is that our customer Michael here is looking for, and we can also use this as an opportunity to recommend additional products or items that they may want to purchase to support that particular job that they're looking to complete. Another great example of how distributors use Prokeep is the ability to support our customers. So in this case, Bill got that part he was looking for, and he's now having some difficulty with the installation of that part. And so he's reached back out to us asking if we can provide him with a wiring diagram so he can better troubleshoot that particular installation of that part. This ultimately saves time both for the customer of yours as well as for your teams. It improves their ability to troubleshoot the issue and thereby reduces the likelihood that they may return that product unnecessarily, thinking it maybe is defective, when in reality it was just an installation challenge that they were facing, and gives, of course, a better customer experience as far as ensuring that that individual, in this case Bill, has exactly what they need to troubleshoot and get that job done. Another great example of using Prokeep as a distributor is the ability to communicate the status of an order back to your customer. And in Prokeep, we can do this either on an individual case-by-case basis, or based on certain systems and technologies you use in your business. We can even set these up to be automatically communicated to your customer. So that way your customer is kept informed and is made aware of when their order is ready to be picked up and made available. This is especially helpful given the ever-present challenges with respect to the supply chain that distributors face day in and day out since COVID. And ultimately, and it gives you a better experience to your customer, ensuring that they're not consistently seeking an update on an order, and you can make sure that that's communicated to them when it's ready to be picked up. So in short, some of the value drivers of Prokeep is to help distributors increase their sales volume by ultimately streamlining the frequency of interactions and how much time it takes to support those interactions with your customers, giving time back both to your customers and to your teams so that they can help the next customer that's seeking their support, and thereby also improving the customer experience, again, reducing the likelihood of mistakes or inaccuracies, or ensuring that there are no ambiguity with those orders that those customers are looking to place, as well as giving greater visibility and productivity back to your team, and ultimately ensuring that all of those interactions and all of those conversations that your teams are having via Prokeep with your customers are logged and historically available for anyone to refer back to at a later date should they need to do so. So some of our goals for today, as I mentioned earlier, and just to circle back to those, we're going to focus now for the remainder of our call, before we get to the Q&A portion, on a live demonstration of Prokeep, so that way you can take advantage of it and begin using it in your day-to-day role. With that, we're going to make sure that you have a key understanding of how Prokeep works and the different core features of it, as well as how you can configure some of the different settings and preferences to your liking to ensure that it works in the manner that's best suited for your specific needs, as well as your specific environment that you experience day in and day out at your particular branch. So what we have here, if you can see my screen, is we have Prokeep available, and we've logged into Prokeep. So within Prokeep, what a user will be first presented with is the shared inbox. So within Prokeep, as I mentioned earlier, we are looking to consolidate and ultimately streamline and reduce really the amount of places that a member of your team has to go in order to access those different types of communication that may be coming from a text message, an email, a chat, or any other manner of correspondence, and how they're reaching out to you. So what Prokeep will do is it will consolidate all of those conversations, we call them threads, into a shared inbox. So in this case, we have our Denver group, and we have a text message from a customer who's reached out to us looking to place an order. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll go ahead and review this message from Creed just to verify that we're the right person to help him with what it is he's looking to do. As you can see here, it looks like he's wanting to place an order for this particular piece of equipment or machinery. And once we've determined that we are the right person to support Creed, Prokeep will do a couple of things in preparation for that. One, we will send an automated message to that customer, letting them know that their message has been received to give them confirmation of the fact that someone will be assisting them shortly. And then once that person, in this case myself, has decided I am the right person to support and help Creed with his inquiry, I will go ahead and claim that thread. Claiming that thread will then also send a message to this customer, letting them know that I have read their message and I am now helping support them and get them the help that they need. So in this case, a couple things that we may want to explore to better help Creed. First and foremost is if we didn't know who this customer was, which we do in this case, but let's assume for a moment we didn't, we would want to first reach back out to that customer and determine what is their name and potentially what is the company that they're associated with. So that way we can associate that to their contacts within Prokeep. And that way, when they communicate with us down the road, we can personalize that experience and greet them by their name instead of having just a generic phone number housed within Prokeep. In this case, we don't need to do that, but we also don't necessarily know Creed's job title or the company that Creed is working at. So I'm going to go ahead and write Creed back and let him know that I will take care of this order. May I know which company you work for? We'll go ahead and send that message. And then we'll give that a moment to be delivered to Mr. Bratton here. And then once he writes back to us, as you can see here, we have an ongoing conversation through this thread that we originally claimed. And we now know that Creed works for Dunder Mifflin. So let's go ahead and quickly assign Dunder Mifflin as the company that Creed works for. And in this case, we already have Dunder Mifflin in Prokeep as a company. If we didn't for any reason, we can simply create a new company like so, and then that will be permanently saved within Prokeep and able to be associated to any other contacts down the road. And then we'll go ahead and save that change to that contact. So let's go ahead and respond now back to Creed and let him know we have one in stock. Price is $238. Will you be picking it up today? And then again, this is all being communicated to Creed and myself via text message, but Creed is just using his phone like he would communicate with a friend or a relative. But in this case, it's just an interaction between his cell phone and your business. So we let Creed know we have one in stock. He's good to go. He's happy to pick that up and he'll be here this afternoon. So we'll let him know that it will be ready to pick up at will call. Please text us once you arrive if you would like a curbside pickup. And now at that point, we've really completed our interaction with Creed. However, there's a couple other things that we may want to know, especially for those of you who are new to using Prokeep, that are helpful tips and tricks or best practices, really just tools of the application that is Prokeep that could support you. One particular thing that I want to reference and circle back to here in this conversation with Creed is we received this picture from him, which is incredibly helpful in ensuring that we're getting Creed exactly what he's looking for. But as you may have noticed, it's upside down. So customers will sometimes take pictures, they may be upside down, or they may be difficult to see exactly what the model number is or anything to that effect. So in this case, if we needed to clarify what it was that Creed was looking for, because maybe the picture is upside down in this instance as it is here, let's go ahead and click on that photo. And once we've done so, Prokeep within itself will go ahead and show us that image in a larger view, so that way it's easier to see. Additionally, when we are looking at this photo, we can zoom into it to better understand maybe what a number is for the model or the part. Or in this case, we can even rotate that image so we can get a better feel for what exactly it is that Creed is looking for with this particular part. Additionally, in Prokeep, you can actually annotate images. So say, for example, you're not 100% certain that you have the right model number for that particular part. Oops. We go ahead and save this annotation. Oops. So within the application, again, we can rotate these images. What we would need to do to annotate it after we've rotated it is just go ahead and download it. So for the sake of saving time here, I'm not going to do that. But once we've rotated the image, we can save it by selecting this save icon here. And then we could re-upload it, annotate it, and make any markups that we need to. Maybe if we want to point an arrow to a specific point of that photo to specify, hey, is this the exact model number here? I just want to make sure I get you the right thing and the right price. Additionally, what we can also do in Prokeep is we can ultimately attach files, as I just referenced. So the way we would do that in that example is if we were to select that paperclip icon here in the bottom of the screen within that existing thread with Creed, that would allow us to attach a file. We could either reattach that file of that picture that Creed had sent to us, or we could even upload a different file like I referenced earlier. We maybe want to provide Creed with a guide or some other sort of documentation, maybe even an invoice or purchase order, for example, which is for his record-keeping purposes. Additionally, another really great and helpful feature of Prokeep is we have the ability to create templates. And within those templates, we can set them up to be somewhat automated. So for example, I have a ready for pickup template. Let's say that Creed wrote in and we went ahead and let him know that we need to verify that we have that part on stock, and we would text him back at a later point in the day. Let's assume in this case we've done that. I can go ahead and create a new message, either in a new thread or in this case in this existing thread, and select this template. And what will happen is, since we previously saved Creed as a contact and associated his first name, his last name, and his company, Prokeep is smart enough and intelligent enough to automatically tell this customer, or rather automatically address this message to this customer by name. So in this case, we would just let them know what the amount due is and if there's an invoice number or anything else to that effect. Additionally, as you may have noticed, we have these helpful little options up here at the top. And these are what we call snippets. These are commonly used default responses that you may want to send to someone to save you time, and things that you may find yourself saying or responding back to a customer ad nauseum. If you send the same message maybe 10 times a day, there's a perfect example of the use case for snippets to ensure that you are able to save time for yourself while also still giving a terrific experience to your customer and getting them exactly what they're needing. The application will allow you to create a variety of snippets, and each user in Prokeep can specify which 3 snippets, like you see here in my case, are made available. As a matter of using them, all you have to do is click on it, and you'll see it will automatically populate that message into Prokeep, and all we have to do next is say send. So going back to what I was describing earlier, which is in this case, we've already helped Creed. He's got exactly what he needs. We have it. He knows the price. He's coming to pick it up this afternoon. The next step in Prokeep is we want to close this conversation. We want to end it now that it's reached its natural conclusion. This is particularly important because if we were to not close this conversation, Prokeep will route this message to me, Josh, in future moments of outreach where Creed texts us. And so in that case, we want to ensure that Creed is able to get help by the first available team member and not just Josh. So by closing this thread, if Creed were to text us back, say next week with a new order or a new inquiry, instead of that message coming directly to Josh, it will go to our shared inbox that all of the team members at your branch will have access to and can then claim if they're the right person for that particular inquiry from that customer. So once we've closed that thread, what Prokeep will then do is it will notify us that we have done just that. It will keep us in our open inbox if, hypothetically, you're working with different customers in Prokeep. Maybe you have 3 other conversations open, and those threads are still available and ongoing. In that case, you would see them listed here in this open inbox. In this case, again, we don't have any because we haven't claimed an additional thread after closing Creed's thread. Now, let's assume maybe you want to understand what happened in a conversation that you had earlier in the day. Maybe you want to follow up with somebody, maybe something went awry, and you want to understand what did we communicate with that customer, what were the expectations that were set. If you're looking to see a conversation that transpired earlier in the day, we also have a closed inbox. And with that closed section, you can see all of the interactions that you have had listed under this My Threads area within the last few days. This will go back historically as far as you would like. However, it will only show you up to the last 30 or so threads. But what's particularly helpful here is not only can you see your threads that you have closed, in Prokeep, you can also see other threads that other members of your team have closed. So you can see additional interactions that are maybe taking place outside of your purview, but perhaps you've been handed off an interaction with a customer because someone had to go to lunch or they had a family emergency. You can quickly and easily access those prior interactions in this closed section of Prokeep. For instance, if I wanted to see what was happening with Miles Morales here a few days prior, I would just simply click on that thread, and then I can see what it was that was being communicated to Miles. Additionally, let's assume I want to see something from an even further back point in time or more previous conversation. Since all conversations in Prokeep are logged and tracked and associated to the contact when they communicate into Prokeep, I can go to all threads for this contact by simply clicking this button here in the center of my screen. And in doing so, I will be able to scroll through the entirety of their contact history and any threads that we've had throughout the interactions we've had with them. In doing so, I can see who's helped them in the past. I can see what we've communicated, what the customers asked for, et cetera, et cetera. This is particularly helpful maybe if you have a customer who writes in and says, hey, a few months ago, I needed this thing. I can't remember exactly what the model number or part number is. Can you let me know if you have any in stock and what the price is? And instead of having to maybe look up their order history or anything to that effect, which can be sometimes cumbersome and difficult in ERP or point of sale systems, you can quickly reference this and access this. Additionally, especially if your customers use things like invoice numbers or PO numbers, we can actually associate tags to these conversations, both within the historical thread history like you see here, or as we're actually having that conversation within our inbox. It's done the same in either scenario, and it's just a matter of going to the Add New Tag option here in the upper right-hand corner, selecting Add New Tag, and then we can associate, say, PO1234 to this particular order. Another great example of tags, again, at the thread or conversation level, would be something to the effect of maybe a will call situation or something like that. That just gives you the ability to easily group those conversations for whatever the specific use case is. And we'll cover this a little bit more later on. We also have a similar feature, which is called labels, but that's meant to be applied to the contact, the actual person themselves. So within Prokeep, the other thing to note is contact management is really critical to your success with this tool. Having an understanding of who it is that's on the other end of the line is especially valuable and really helps, again, improve and support a healthy, positive customer interaction, and again, personalize that interaction as far as knowing who you're talking to and who you're speaking with. So if you're ever engaging with a customer, maybe on your personal phone or over the phone historically, and you want to start reaching out to them or communicating with them via Prokeep in a text message form, that's where you have the ability in Prokeep to manually save those contacts and get them off of, say, your personal cell phone. So to do that, you would just navigate over here to the left-hand side where we have our handy dandy address book. Once there, you would simply select the plus sign, and then you can populate that customer's information however you would like to capture it. We do require a few pieces of essential information, which is going to be their first name, their last name, and either an email address or a telephone number being the more common and preferable of those two. So we'll go ahead and just quickly fill this out. We'll add in my favorite customer, Johnny Appleseed. I've been working with him for quite a while. And in Johnny's case, we also have another interesting feature that isn't typically used by our counter staff, but maybe more so by folks who do inside or outside sales activities. Maybe you have a actual account manager or sales rep who works with Johnny, and that's his customer. And in Prokeep, what we can do is we can tell Prokeep whenever Johnny messages us, we don't want those messages to initially go to the shared inbox where any employee can claim that message and take care of Johnny. We want to instead route that message directly to a specific employee within our company. So what I could do, for instance, is I could add this team member here, Katie. I could say that this is a priority notification. And what that will do is whenever Johnny texts into Prokeep, those messages will by default forever and ever go directly to Katie. So Katie essentially gets first dibs and is the first employee at your company who would be able to support them. Now, we also have features to ensure that that message isn't missed. Maybe if Katie's on vacation or on holiday, for example, and what would happen is if you set up a specific feature and setting to do this, it would kick it after some period of inactivity into that shared inbox. So that way the first available team member can help Johnny with his inquiry. Additionally, as I referenced earlier, this is where you can apply labels, but there's multiple manners in which you can do this. Again, as I said earlier, you can do this within the conversation by accessing their contact if you're already chatting with them, or as we're doing here, we're creating this contact from scratch. I can reference various labels. This is particularly helpful for your teams if maybe you support different types of clientele in different spaces. Maybe you have customers who are in HVAC and electrical. You can associate a label to these customers so you can very quickly and easily understand, okay, this customer needs help with things that are HVAC specific versus electrical. And what that does for you is that enables you to quickly and easily understand at a glance, okay, this person may need help with something in the HVAC realm. I'm more of an electrical person. I might want another member of my team to support them as such. It also helps your marketing team or whomever it is that's managing any marketing efforts within your business by enabling them to better target and segment any campaigns using, say, our broadcast text messaging feature, whereby they could send a campaign that's specific to folks in the HVAC space where maybe they don't care about things that would be enticing or interesting to someone in the electrical space. For example, products that are on sale, new products that you've brought in, or just any upcoming notifications for your business. Maybe you have a storm that's coming your way, or maybe you're having a renovation done to the business. Those types of things can be communicated through our broadcast text messaging feature. The last thing to call out in adding a contact is when manually adding a contact, as we're doing here with Johnny Appleseed, it can be helpful to notify your customer that they can now communicate with you and your branch and your company via text message. So Prokeep, we have this feature here where we can send them an automated welcome message. And if you ever want to see what that message would look like, if it were to be sent to this customer, you can simply hover over this icon here, and it will give you a quick preview of what you'll be communicating to Johnny. Essentially, what we're trying to do here is educate Johnny that, hey, now you can communicate with our branch, Prokeep Supply, in Denver via text message. You're welcome to send any order questions or order inquiries, any questions or pictures that you may have so we can better support you. And we're even adding in a little bit of a call to action there if they want to get those broadcast text messages and maybe encouraging them to opt in to receive those types of marketing efforts from your other members of your team throughout your company. In this case, we'll go ahead and uncheck that rather and disable that. But it's always a best practice when adding a contact manually, as is the case here with Johnny, to send that welcome message so they know not only can you text them, they can text you. Now, that we've covered the inbox and how to receive a message and claim it. We've also covered how to create a contact and some of the core pieces of information like their first name and their last name or their phone number that need to be within it, as well as the ability to prioritize messages and have them route to a specific rep and to label that contact. What I also want to cover is the importance of sending messages proactively in an outbound manner to your customers. For example, maybe you talked to someone the day prior and you now have an update on their inquiry. Maybe you had to engage with another branch because you didn't have what they were looking for, and you're going to have that transferred from their branch to your branch. You may want to send them a follow-up message to keep them informed and aware of where that thing has progressed to. So what we can do on the upper left-hand side of our screen is we have our handy pad of paper with the pencil. This is our ability to create an outbound message. Once we select that, we'll then be given the option to select what type of message we want to compose. In this case, we'll assume a text message, but you can also do an email, a fax, and a variety of other methods that you can use in Prokeep to communicate with your customers or for them to communicate with you. In this case, again, we'll use a text message. And so what this allows us to do is send a message from that branch telephone number like you see here. We can search for the contact in question. In this case, we'll say Johnny Appleseed. And then we would just draft our message to Johnny, something along the lines of, the electrical motor you're seeking is now at our Denver branch and is ready to be picked up. Thank you for your business. Additionally, as we described earlier within our inbox, we also have access to our templates, the ability to attach files, and a couple other key pieces here, like I referenced earlier, right, is the ability to tag this conversation, maybe with a PO number, for example. Once we were to send this message, which I won't do in this case just because it is a fake phone number and won't be able to be delivered, that would then create a new thread, automatically populating it into our open inbox. So that way we could reference that conversation, say if Johnny texts us back, maybe we wait a few minutes, there's no response from Johnny. At that point, we would just close that thread as I described earlier. So moving along, the next area that we'll touch on in Prokeep are some of the core settings or preferences that you may want to configure for your specific user account to personalize your experience within Prokeep, as well as some of the things that are really essential and really valuable to help ensure you and your team members stay on top of these conversations with your customers and things don't slip through the cracks and degrade that customer experience. So to access those options, we'll just click on the cog icon here for settings. And in doing so, you'll initially be presented with this My Account page. I'm not going to focus on this for the moment, but this is where you can revise some minor details like your name, your title, or if maybe you're using Prokeep for email communication, you can even add an email signature. The main area we're going to touch on, though, is this Preferences section. So within Prokeep, as I mentioned earlier, there's this concept of snippets or stock messages. Those are those three little messages that always appear at the top of our conversation within that thread that we have claimed. And these are, again, just available for you to change for your specific needs. So if you don't like what you see here, that's perfectly fine. But again, if you see yourself writing or saying the same thing to your customers on an ongoing and continuing basis, those would be great things to incorporate into these stock messages. So that way you can save yourself time. Additionally, this is where you can go to alter or modify the types of notifications that you receive from Prokeep. By default, Prokeep will play a sound through your computer's speakers on a 1-minute interval, meaning whenever you receive a new message, be it an unclaimed thread that has not yet been acted upon by you or a member of your team, or a claimed thread that you are engaging with and that customer responds to it, you will get a sound as well as a visual notification within Prokeep to let you know that that has happened. You can change this sound, perhaps if you want to set it to a different option, say the blip versus the jingle, and you can also adjust the interval. I do generally recommend that you keep it at less than 2 minutes just to ensure that that customer doesn't start to feel neglected and potentially take their business elsewhere. Another helpful feature, especially maybe if you're a member of the leadership team at your branch, say a branch manager, is Prokeep can send us email notifications if things aren't being acted upon by the staff at the branch. So in this example, as you see here for these email notifications, Prokeep will send me an email 15 minutes after a message has been received but remains unread, or after a new thread has been received but remains unclaimed. So essentially what will happen is if no one is taking action on that message or that thread, regardless of if it's claimed or unclaimed in this case, I will get an email to ensure that after at most 15 minutes, I am made aware that someone needs to support that customer. So either I can jump into Prokeep and then claim that thread and respond to that customer, or I can delegate that to a member of my team. We also have a newer feature that we recently introduced, which is to limit those notifications. In Prokeep, you can define your business's or branch's hours. And if you don't want to receive these emails, maybe you have a customer who's notorious for sending in a text message or an order request at 10 o'clock every night, Monday through Friday, you're trying to get ready for bed. You may not want to receive those notifications in your inbox as far as them sitting for that 15-minute period of time. You can now use this feature to ensure that you don't get that email until the next morning. Say your business opens at 9. Once that message has sat and been unclaimed or unread for 15 minutes, then you would receive that email. The other item that's particularly helpful to know, as we touched on earlier, is templates. Whenever I'm drafting a message or when I'm having a thread that I've claimed, again, that is where you would access and utilize templates. Templates are something that can be created by managers and administrators within Prokeep. However, if you have someone who's created those templates, this is where I, as Josh, can select what are the 3 templates that I use or rely on the most heavily. So as you can see here, I've only selected template 1 and template 2. Let's go ahead and quickly select template 3 from the library of templates that we have created courtesy of our administrators and our managers within Prokeep. Once I've selected that additional template, all I would do is select save. If you have ideas and suggestions on additional templates that you and your coworkers might find helpful, again, connect with your branch manager or your administrator within Prokeep so that way they can get those built and populated for you, and that way you can then select them like we just did there. The other thing that is helpful to know within Prokeep would be with respect to templates. Again, if you're a branch manager or if you're an administrator, this will be where they would go to add those templates. You can add as many templates as you would like. And then once those templates have been created, say we have a library of 50 different templates, those 50 different templates, each user or each employee at your company can select up to 3 of them, as we just discussed. You can also search for them by name. Maybe it's a long list and you don't want to scroll through it. You can even search for templates that are specific to a particular group or branch. Maybe you have 100 branches within your organization, and there's a particular template that's available at the Denver branch versus, say, the Colorado Springs branch. You can just filter this to quickly show us the templates that are associated to that particular branch. But in this case, I have just one branch, so we only see the Denver templates. And aside from that, another helpful and key feature to know is our global search feature. This is probably the most helpful and time-saving feature within Prokeep, especially if you're saving and naming those contacts, especially if you're using tags and labels, either at the conversation level or the contact level, and ultimately makes it to where you can easily and quickly find the most pertinent information you're looking for, be it a prior conversation, a specific person's maybe account number that's associated to their contact, whatever the case may be. So the way this feature works is like any other search feature that you're likely accustomed to. We can search for details that are found within a thread, within a contact, or within a company name. So for example, I can search Johnny. You'll see that a few results are then returned. We have a result for a contact that contains the keyword Johnny. We also have a thread that contains the keyword Johnny. What we can do now is if I want to understand some details within Johnny's contact information, maybe the address of his business or maybe the account number associated to his business, I can quickly and easily select go to contact and it will take me right to that information. Alternatively, maybe I'm looking for a recent conversation that someone had with Johnny. Instead of scrolling through our closed conversation history in our closed inbox, I can quickly and easily find that particular thread and go directly to it like so. Additionally, as you saw earlier, we applied a PO number to an order. So we did that by adding a tag to that particular conversation. Maybe this customer has come back, as I referenced earlier, and said, hey, I remember buying this thing. I can't remember exactly what the part number or model number was, but I do have the PO number. If we tagged that conversation with that PO number, this is exactly how we can quickly and easily find that to know exactly what it was that we got for that customer and that we can provide to them again. Ultimately, really the world is your oyster with the search feature. It will really just be able to query and look for anything in Prokeep that has the keyword that you enter into that search field. So if you're trying to find something, this is the best and quickest way to locate whatever that conversation may be, that contact may be, or any other type of data that you're looking for within Prokeep. So we'll go ahead and go back to our presentation as that covers the actual demonstration of Prokeep and how to use some of the core and essential features. One thing I do want to stress before we switch gears here, though, is that is the tip of the iceberg with Prokeep. There are a number of other rocks that we could turn over today, but for the sake of time and for the purpose of this particular audience, we really just want to make sure you have the most essential areas of Prokeep known and understood. If you want to learn more, if you have any additional questions, again, please feel free to pose them in our Q&A feature here in Zoom, or you're also welcome to reach out to our support team. So going back to our presentation here, a few things as we touched on during the demonstration portion of today is we want you to know our what we call ABCs for success. These are the 3 most critical actions you and members of your team could be and should be taking advantage of to get the most benefit for you and for your customers out of Prokeep, which is always capture names so you can create those contacts. Again, as we discussed earlier, that helps you personalize that experience, that helps your marketing team better communicate and personalize their outreach to those customers, and it ultimately ensures that you can quickly and easily find those historical conversations, say for Johnny or say for Miles. It's also important to use Prokeep to send proactive messages. So do be proactive by sending those outbound messages. As we discussed earlier, feel free to create that contact and then send them a manual message welcoming to text your branch with whatever it is that they're needing or looking to get assistance with. And then lastly, it's always important to, whenever a conversation has reached its conclusion, to not only claim the thread to start the conversation, but most importantly, to close that thread. We want to practice good hygiene with managing these messages and ensure that if they text back at a later date, they don't come to me and me alone. They go to the entire team, and that the first person available can help them as quickly as possible. Again, some of the core things to not forget following today's call is you can, if you are a manager or admin, create templates, and then everyone else can access and use those templates for any messages that are commonly sent, saving you time and giving you time back to help the next customer in a quicker, more efficient way. You can add tags, as we discussed, such as those purchase order numbers, to those conversations that you're having with those customers to more easily refer back to them at a later date. You can assign a contact label like HVAC or VIP or any other sort of designation you want to give to a particular person that you engage with at your business, not only to support you, but also for support your marketing team for their segmentation of any marketing campaigns they may be pursuing. And when we didn't cover this, I'm happy to, if this is something that is interesting to this audience. Prokeep also has an internal messaging feature within it so that I can actually send an outbound message to another employee or to another employee at another branch. And I can even transfer an existing conversation I'm having with a customer to another coworker or another branch. If I'm not the right person for the job, or maybe that customer is looking for something that we don't carry, I don't want to necessarily tell them to text or call that other branch. I can just transfer that naturally and they can pick up that conversation where I left off. So with that, we'll go ahead and switch over to the Q&A portion of today. And so for those of you that are on today's call, again, if you do have any questions you pose or want to pose to me, and I'm happy to address them, please use that Q&A feature. And luckily, we have a few questions. So allow me to take a quick look at these. So the first question comes from Andy. Andy, thank you for your question. Is there a cell phone app we can download and also use, or is it just an internet login? That's a great question, Andy. I'm very glad you asked. So generally, Prokeep is a computer-based program. You would access it through your web browser, be that Chrome or Firefox or the like. However, to your question, we do have a mobile app available. So if you were to go into the App Store for your mobile device of choice, you can get that app by searching for Prokeep, and you'll be able to use that app to manage your inbox. So you can see the messages that have come in, you can claim the thread, you can close the thread, you can access and add or modify contacts. It's really the core features that we covered today that would be available there, with a couple exceptions to that statement. But ultimately, it will give you the ability to, wherever you are in the world, as long as you have your cell phone and as long as you have the Prokeep mobile app, be able to support and help those customers. Carl, looks like we have our next question from, which is, how do you set the branch hours? So yeah, happy to show you that. This is something that is not available to all user levels, just so you're aware. And with that, what would happen is, for those users who can make this change, what we would want to do is navigate to the settings area again of Prokeep. As you scroll down the list here, if you have the ability to make this change, you will see this after hours message section here. So what this does in Prokeep is, to answer your question, Carl, allows you to define what your branch's hours of operation are. So as you can see here, my branch is open Monday through Saturday. We're closed Sunday. I can specify that we're open, in this case, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I can even apply that just to that one day and then copy that to all remaining days. So I don't have to add that to each individual day and save you a few moments of time there. Of course, you can specify the time zone that you're in, so that way we know it's 8 a.m. in Mountain Time, not 8 a.m. in Central Time. And we can even set up temporary or holiday hours. So as we approach, say, the Thanksgiving and Christmas seasons, you can add temporary hours here. Maybe you're closing early in preparation for those holidays, or you're just closing for the entirety of a particular day. What this will do is it essentially schedules those messages that I'll cover in a moment, whereby if a customer reaches out to us and texts our branch, we would return an automated message at that period of time, letting them know, hey, thanks for reaching out to us. We're currently closed in observation of Thanksgiving. We'll reach back out just as soon as we're back tomorrow, for instance. Now, as far as customizing the message that's automatically sent to your customer if they text your branch outside of your operating hours, this is the way to do that. So as you can see here in my case, I have it set to where if a customer texts our branch after our business hours, we'll respond back automatically letting them know you've reached us outside of business hours. Our hours are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. We will respond to your message once you return and thank you for your patience. Those people who can modify this, the managers or admins, have the ability to create this message and write it in whatever fashion you would like. So do feel free to work with your staff if need be to have that changed if you maybe have feedback or thoughts on what that should say. And taking a look at the questions here, it looks like that was able to answer all that we have so far. So again, if you have any questions, please keep them coming. Happy to answer any of them that you may have and want to ensure that you're getting the most possible benefit out of today's time with myself. As a member of the customer success team, your success is incredibly important to me, and I want to make sure that you get those questions answered if you have them. All right. So while we wait for any other potential questions to come through the Q&A here, we'll go ahead and go back to my presentation quickly. So as we start to wrap up today's session, you may need additional assistance, and do know we are here and we are more than happy to help and assist you in any way that we possibly can. Again, your success is paramount to us. With that being said, if you have any additional inquiries, there are a few core and key helpful resources for you to be aware of. You're welcome to reach out to our support team. They're available via email at support@prokeep.com. They're especially helpful maybe if you have a basic question on how to do something, or maybe you're running into a weird quirk like a bug or something that you want to make sure we're aware of and working to address that. That is the perfect place to go for that. If you're wanting to better understand some of the different rocks that Prokeep has that I referenced earlier that we didn't turn over today as far as additional features and functionality that could be helpful to you, our Knowledge Center is a great place to go to see what else Prokeep can do for you and for your business. Additionally, and again, this deck will be shared out with everyone attending today's call. We have a quick little 11-minute training video and a best practices video that's about 5 minutes in length. And so you'll be able to access those both for yourself if you need a quick refresher down the road, or maybe as you have new team members join your branch or join your company. So that way they can quickly get brought into the fold as far as how best to use Prokeep. So with that, I don't have any other questions, it appears. So ultimately, I hope everyone on today's call found this helpful and found this valuable. We do host these sessions every month. So if you have other members of your team that would see this to be beneficial to them as far as helping them better understand what Prokeep is and how best to take advantage of it, encourage them to join, or feel free to reference the resources in that slide deck. Additionally, there are pieces of content in Prokeep whereby if you notice on the lower left-hand corner of your screen, there is a little question mark icon. That is also a great place for additional resources. It's how you can quickly access the support team, our Knowledge Center, as well as in-app and guided walkthroughs of Prokeep if you want to better understand these things in more of a guided way than what we did today. So with that, I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you so much for joining. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, but we'll follow up here in the next few days with a link to the recording of today's session, as well as the slides that we presented and those links within them if you would like to review them at any other point. But other than that, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and thanks again for your time.